All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So my name is Jerry Smith. I'm the chair of the programs committee here at PACCIN. And it's really, really great to see you all here sitting in this hall in Arkansas. It's been a long journey since our last conference, more than can be easily summed up in just a simple introduction. We went through and are still going through some pretty dark and difficult times, but I'm super happy that we can resume engaging with each other, for it's through relationships that we make here that we can move forward with like the sparking light and joy in the work we do and keep the energy going that we need to keep moving forward. The relationships forged here at this conference and the sharing and the learning, the teaching and the camaraderie is some of the most interesting and sometimes in this most interesting and sometimes esoteric of fields that we found ourselves in. It's really kind of some of the most important things we do. You're likely here because you generally like what you do, but I'd guess that even more than that, you love this field. The people that you meet and work with, the sharpening of minds when you collaborate on a problem with a colleague, finding the solution when the pressure is on and time is tight, and the overcoming of the weirdest of problems and the most exhausting of conundrums. And of course, the having a drink with everyone when it's all over. And I think sometimes we would really like to just skip to that part whenever possible. So this is what PACCIN's all about, the sharing of experiences and building the field. I'm really so happy to kick off this much awaited conference. And again, I can't express how good it is to see you all here, sitting here and ready to be present for today's content. So I want to thank you all for registering and coming out here to Arkansas. We're thrilled that PrepCon sold out this year and so encouraged that there is so much appetite for collaboration and this kind of event. Next up, I want to thank each of the speakers for being willing to come up here on stage to share your knowledge and experience with everyone. The stage is not often the favorite place for those of us who like to work behind the scenes, and I really applaud you for coming up and sharing your knowledge and your experience. Of course, a really big thank you to our sponsors. The financial backing for this event is so important, and we are grateful for your support. So please make sure you stop by the tables in the back and talk to the folks about their services and their products. They've come out here to support us, and we'd like to support them as well. And finally, a heartfelt gratitude to everyone who's been working on this conference for the last year. Mark Wameling, the entire board at PACCIN, the programs committee, the publications committee, Jonathan and Elizabeth in the registration who checked you in this morning, and a huge thank you to Dave O'Ryan, who's on the programs committee and is the reason why we're here at Crystal Bridges today. It takes a lot of work to put one of these on, and Dave's efforts here on the ground are much appreciated. And I'm just going to bring Dave up on the stage to say a few words.
Hello. I'm Dave. I may have only moved here 18 months ago, but I'm very excited to welcome you all here to beautiful Arkansas. I'm thrilled to see people from every corner of the US, in addition to attendees, presenters, and sponsors from Europe and South America, all here at Crystal Bridges. I'm also thrilled by the amount of local support that we had for this conference. I'd like to thank Rod Bigelow, our director, our chief curator, Austin Barron Bailey, our director of collection management, Jennifer DiMartino, all for supporting the idea of hosting PACCIN from the very outset. I'd like to thank Visit Bentonville and the Oz Art Organization for their generous support. I'd like to thank our event managers and staff here, Jessica Gorman, Julie Cleve, and Megan Banta for orchestrating this and helping us manage the next 2 days. Big thanks to the whole prep department here, our head prep Todd Rennie, and prep staff Jorge Valenzuela, Desiree Monique, Peyton Widner, Trisha Parker, Lisa McLean, Landon Perkins, and Drew Divalbus for all manner of things, like helping to scour the area for fun additions to the tote bags, soliciting hotel rates, deep cleaning the galleries, and of course providing some presentation content. And special thanks to Landon Perkins for designing the tote bag. Huge apologies and huge thanks to anyone that I may have missed. I'm sure there are people. I want to recognize what an incredible amount of work goes into planning one of these things, just like Jerry said, by the PACCIN board and committees. And in particular, I think we need to give Mark Wameling and Jerry Smith a round of applause. And finally, I'm going to end my welcome with Crystal Bridges' Indigenous Peoples Acknowledgement before we launch into this. As Crystal Bridges and the Momentary, we recognize our role as settlers and guests in the Northwest Arkansas region. We acknowledge the Caddo, Quapaw, and Osage, as well as the many indigenous caretakers of this land and water. We appreciate the enduring influence and the vibrant, diverse, and contemporary cultures of indigenous peoples. We're conscious of the role in colonization that museums have played. As cultural institutions, we have a responsibility to engage in the dismantling of historical and systemic invisibility of indigenous peoples, past, present, and future. We choose to intentionally hold ourselves accountable to appropriate conversation, representation, connection, and education to facilitate a space of measurable change. And now I'm giving this back to Jerry.
So I just have a few announcements for everyone, a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to try to stay on time as much as possible. We really try to pack in the information this conference, so there's not a lot of wiggle room between speakers and the time we need to be out of here today. So if you can strive to be back here in the Great Hall pretty promptly when breaks and lunches are over, we'll try to be following these guidelines that are on your schedule. If you don't, hopefully you all have the schedule digitally. If you do need a copy, we have a few, and we can talk to Jonathan in registration about that. For the evening event tonight, if you're signed up for this event already, you should have a couple of drink tickets tucked into your name tag holder. These tickets are your ticket into the Tower Bar. Capacity is limited to the Tower Bar, and unfortunately we can't have everybody from the conference be there at once. So just on that note, as of my last count, we have about 30 places left in the evening event, so please see Jonathan or Elizabeth from registration at lunch or at a break, and they can hook you up. It's no problem to come, just make sure you have those tickets. And I'll speak a little bit more about the transportation situation there this afternoon when we have our closing remarks. So if you need assistance with anything, please come to myself, Mark, or Dave, or any of the other volunteers that you've seen today. We'll be around and we can help you out. So let's get started with the conference. I'd like to bring Natalie Wadley, our first speaker, up to the stage.